what's up? Welcome to
Hello,
Pulse
man.
of Pulse of Fins Nation. As you can see, we're down a guy. We're missing our main dude, Lewis. He is currently driving from Texas to Florida. I know that sounds weird because he lives in Florida. So why is he doing that? I'll let him explain next time he's here. But it's just us. We're going to talk about, what was it we were going to talk about? Oh, yeah, draft capital, how we're going to spend it. But first, I got to read our sponsor promos, of course. All right, so let me get on that. All right, welcome back to our friends and sponsor at U Brake Wheel Fix, the complete automotive wheel solution. Ever park too close to the sidewalk curb? I know I have. U Brake Wheel Fix specializes in the repair of damaged wheels from bends, cracks, curb rash, and your wheels faded or peeling. You don't need to replace them, as U Brake Wheel Fix can refinish them to like new. Offering complete refinish options through powder coating, matching, I can't even read that word, and polishing, U Brake Wheel Fix is the answer to all of your wheel needs. And if you're just looking to give your ride a new look, U Brake Wheel Fix also offers many car customizing options such as new custom wheels and tires from your favorite brands, performance upgrades, window tinting, and suspension modifications. Located just south of Aventura, you can reach Mark and his staff at 305-748-0112 or online at ubrakewheelfix.com. They are really active on all social media platforms at ubrakewheelfix. So shoot them a DM on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter and get an estimate in just minutes. So don't delay. Go to U Brake Wheel Fix and start customizing your ride to show off your Dolphins fandom. All right. And of course, our other sponsor needs no introduction, but we'll do it anyway. This show is also brought to you by prizepicks.com. PrizePicks is the revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues, NFL, NBA, MLB, one of each. It's up to you. And choose whether your chosen player will get more or less than their projected stat. They give you free squares, special Taco Tuesday promos, Flex Friday specials to where you get your money back if you lose, or multiply the amount of money you can win. So with offers like that, it's hard to justify not signing up. So use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Again, that's promo code 5. Spell that out. PrizePicks.com, who we at 5 Reasons Sports are proud to have as our sponsor.
And it's a one-time rollover. So when you deposit $100, you get a $100 promo and promo funds, which means that if you bet it through one time, you get $100. So in other words, it's a free $100. So take it. Just use the promo code FIVE 5. Do it now.
Do it. LFG. I have no idea what that stands for.
That means
So
let's freaking go. But
Let's freaking go. We're gonna make it nice now. Why not? We curse on the show once in a while. Just not Lewis. Lewis is gone. Let's just throw F-bombs every sentence.
all right, yeah. We'll all be fired when he comes back.
Yeah, I know, right? Get a whole new cast of characters. All right, guys. I know, Alf, I know you're into the draft. Chad, I know you're into the draft. You guys probably remember my comments about the draft itself. I like the draft. I just can't get into talking about 300 players, 295 of them we ain't going to draft. However, this draft is really important for us because we're looking to fill a few holes, and we're trying to get to the Super Bowl. And I don't know if anybody we draft this year can help get us there, but I'm going to ask you first, Alf. Who can we draft, or what positions could we draft that realistically could help us this year just fill a few of these little missing spots that we have on this team? Because this roster, I mean, it doesn't have a lot of holes in it.
Well, you can draft a playmaker. You could draft a guy who's going to touch the ball and is going to play a lot of snaps on offense and will, augment what we already have in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You draft something like that, that'll help you get to the Super Bowl.
Well, who do you see?
I would say I would start right there.
right there. So you're thinking we could draft another receiver or maybe a running back?
Absolutely. There's a few guys that are really, versatile as far as like how they can use them in this offense. I'm getting very close to the point where I would target Jonathan Mingo out of Mississippi, wide receiver, with that 51st pick. If it doesn't break down the way we think it could break down, and Jahmyr Gibbs is off the board, and let's say Darnell Washington is off the board, and now you're faced with either taking tight end number 5 or a wide receiver like Jonathan Mingo, I would take Jonathan Mingo instead of tight end number 5, because tight end number 5 is just going to be a guy who's going to play a lot in your 12 personnel grouping and your 13 personnel grouping and your 23 personnel grouping, which means that that's a guy that's going to play somewhere around 6 to 7 to 8 snaps a game. If he doesn't supplant Durham Smythe, they just paid Durham Smythe like he's going to play a lot in the 11 personnel grouping, which means that whatever tight end they take is a guy that's going to play about 11 snaps, and he's going to have to earn every single snap he gets past that. Now, you draft Jonathan Mingo, he should take over wide receiver 3 right away. And if he does do that, you got to figure you're going to be in a predominantly 11 personnel team. You're going to keep 11 personnel on the field for most of the time. And if people think, okay, but this is not going to keep the offense as diversified as you would want it, doesn't matter. The Rams went to a Super Bowl playing 11 personnel like 83% of the time, something like that. So they never took these guys off the field. Go look at the talent that they had on that offense, and then compare it to what Miami could have if they get a Jonathan Mingo. Jonathan Mingo can block in the run game. He can play in line. My partner on 3YPC, Chris Kaufman, had a great tweet where he showed how Jonathan Mingo actually played more snaps in line in a 3-point stance in his last year at Mississippi than Mike Gesicki did all of last year. So that kind of tells you everything you need to know. We're talking about a guy who's 6'2", 225 pounds, runs sub 4.5. He can fly. He can win 50-50 balls. He wins a space. He's physical. Something you can't teach, and you see it on the film every single time from Jonathan Mingo, is when he catches the ball in space and there's DBs around him and there are DBs draped on him, they fall off of him as he catches the ball and makes space on his own. He's as physical as they come, and I think he would be the missing piece of what this team can use on offense. Another playmaker, and I think he plays 600 snaps compared to maybe the 300 that a tight end 4 in this draft would play for us. I think there's only really one tight end. Maybe Darnell Washington is the only one that could supplant Durham Smythe, because he could actually do everything better than Durham Smythe can. Every other guy, there's going to be holes in their game where you're going to have to hem and haw and figure out who's going to play in what personnel groupings. And then you're stuck into, square one, thinking about, okay, is this guy any good, or are we going to have to replace him next year with another draft pick at tight end? I say just cut through the chase, cut the line on this offense, and augment the weapons that you already have, augment the passing game, and go get a playmaker to play wide receiver 3. And I think the top guy at that position would be Jonathan Mingo.
What do you think, Chad? What are you hoping for with let's just start maybe that second round pick?
I mean, if you're asking me personally, what I hope for is I would like to see Sam Laporta, because I'm an Iowa guy, and I think the Iowa coaching staff is the best in the nation at teaching blocking, and so I think Sam Laporta would be a good dual threat at both blocking and catching the football. But with what I'm stepping back and just watching what we're doing, or I should say what the Dolphins front office is doing, and the extension to Durham Smythe is a little curious to me, if that was their goal, is to go and use that pick on a tight end. Now, maybe a guy like Sam Laporta is going to be there in the 3rd round. I think that's a very strong possibility, just because the tight end position's flooded with prospects. There's a lot of really quality tight end prospects in this draft. What it looks like to me the Dolphins are doing is going offensive tackle with that pick, just because is good
It's
as
scary.
Tron.
It's
I
scary,
know,
man.
but you look at what they're doing. Like that contract to Durham Smythe is into next year, right? Like they didn't have to give him that contract if they're going to draft the tight end of the future. They would draft the tight end and they wouldn't give Durham Smythe that contract. So that contract tells me they're looking at having him play tight end this year and next year, which makes it a little bit of a curious move if their number one target where it was tight end in the draft. Doesn't mean they're not going to draft.
They only have 3 tight ends on the roster, and we're in an off-season roster right now. So
you're right.
They get to 90. They're gonna have 6 tight ends. They have 3 more tight ends to add to this roster.
And they're going to.
But
do you pay Durham Smythe that money if he's not going to be taking a significant number of the snaps? That's just where I was at with it. That contract tells me he is. And so with what you're going, if you're going to use the number, is it 53 or 52, wherever we're at in that second round?
I think it's 52.
51.
You want a guy that's going
it's
to play.
51.
Yeah,
51.
Do I hear 50? Can it be 50? I'm just kidding.
Whatever. If it's a top 100 pick, you'd like to see them play a significant part in the team and snaps. And so, to me, right now, they've done not anything to suggest that they don't need to add an offensive tackle badly. Because, I mean, Teron Armstead, to me, the likelihood he plays the entire season and doesn't miss games is not very likely. He hasn't done it hardly ever in his career. He's older now. When he's healthy, he's an all-pro tackle. But beyond Teron Armstead, what do we have? So we have Austin Jackson, who may develop a little further, but they didn't give him a vote of confidence, did they? They didn't pick up his option, did they? His 5th-year option? They chose not to.
Well, they haven't. I mean, they still have time to do that till the 30th of April.
I thought they publicly announced they weren't. They even said they weren't going to do it. But maybe I'm wrong.
They haven't announced anything, but I can tell you right now, they're not going to do it. It's not worth doing, and it's a pretty big number. So
right, which tells you though. So next year, Austin Jackson probably won't be with the team, and if he is, it's going to be a substantial contract because he'll be a free agent, right?
Yeah.
So. And then we re-signed Kendall Lamb, who's kind of just a mid. He's athletic, but he's there for depth. You're not signing Kendall Lamb to be your starting right tackle. He may end up being the starting right tackle and beat out Austin Jackson. That would shock me, but we really haven't done anything to address the position. Our premier player there is an injury risk. But you look at the other positions, we re-signed our running backs. Mostert's back, Wilson's back. They just extended Durham Smythe. We did bring in Baxter and Barros, who I think right now the intended 3rd receiver, at least in some of the sets. I
wonder if he's more like a gimmick guy or comes in a different package. And, they had that second package they would bring in with Scherf previously. And they would do some stuff with Scherf, but it was usually out of some different looks and a different package. A lot of times you saw Waddle and Tyreek off the field. And I wonder if they're kind of creating some different packages, but with more yak this time with Barrios. But I mean, they still have Cedric Wilson, and I'm sure they've tried to trade him, and my guess is they couldn't. That's why we ended up not being able to re-sign Scherf. It just wasn't enough money for it. But I mean, Cedric Wilson's got to get mixed in here somewhere. So it's just hard for me to think. And they drafted Eazy-E. So it's like, how are they going to draft another wide receiver? It's just hard for me to think about them doing that.
Well, I guess the point I'm making is they went out and acquired Braxton Barros to add to the team. And that doesn't mean he's going to be playing like he's the locked in number 3. I think Cedric Wilson's in that mix. I think it'll be a mix of them. And it doesn't mean they won't add one, but will
Cedric Wilson get beat out again by the guy behind him on the bench?
He might.
Let's watch.
It's not that they couldn't use it. All I'm pointing out is they did add Braxton Barros, but they really, who have they added at offensive tackle when it's clearly a need for this team? Alf's talking about running 11 personnel. Can you run 11 personnel if your tackles are garbage and the ends just blow in there every play and smack your quarterback? It gets tough. And so they desperately need, if anything, a quality backup offensive tackle. And they haven't really done anything. I don't know in this market anymore. Maybe they have some guys targeted, but I think that to me is where all their offseason moves are pointing, is that they're going to draft offensive tackle in that realm.
So we got Sean asking the question. Bijan is there, end of round 1. Would you trade up? What do you think, Alf? Would you trade up if he's there, sitting at 32 or even 33 or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. But he won't be there, so it's not worth talking about.
Yeah, fair enough.
He ran like 4.3 something, didn't he, in the combine? I want to say.
I think 4.4 flat, but he's 225 pounds.
That's what I mean.
That's so fast for that guy.
He's the premier back. Yeah, I mean, you'd absolutely make the move if he's within reach, because he changes. You throw him in this offense with Waddle and Hill. He's a problem, that defenses have to deal with.
Would it be almost? I don't want to say he's this good, but could he be like a Derrick Henry kind of guy?
Oh, he's not that big, but he could absolutely be a Saquon Barkley type guy, like more along that mold. But
yeah, he's Adrian Peterson, Saquon Barkley, something like that. Like, he's a premier back, he's a superstar back. Like, he's a guy that you'll have here for 5 years. His 6th year, he'll ask you for $20 million a year, and then you let him go. After you run him into the ground for 15 or 1,600 carries in those 5 years.
That's what you do with backs, man. So we got Indade stating, whatever Dolphins do, they should not reach for any player because there's a run. It never works out, and just because you need a player to be great doesn't mean you reaching will make them great. I kind of feel like that's how we ended up with Austin Jackson, is that we had that run and we ended up drafting Jackson when he really should have been a second rounder. Chad, you and I and Lewis used to do a show called Dolphins Brawl. You remember that?
Yeah,
a few years back?
I do.
Remember when we used to have Dante on?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Remember Dante?
Remember leading up to that? We had a lot of fun leading up to that draft that year, up to 2020. But remember how he implored 2 or 3 times, do not draft Austin Jackson, especially in the first round. I remember him saying it over and over again. Man, I hope they don't end up drafting Austin Jackson. I'm really nervous that's what they're going to do. And sure enough, that's what they did.
Well, to this point, he seems to be right. So even if you're a believer that Austin Jackson is going to, with this system, and now that he's healthy and they have another offensive line coach, he's going to have a better year. It doesn't appear they're picking up his option. I don't know why they would. We're going to go into next year, and that is maybe behind quarterback and maybe corner. Offensive tackle is one of the most expensive positions to fill in free agency. And so we need both the depth, and we need a starter going into next year into a season where we're not going to have, a ton of cap space to play with to go sign a big time offensive tackle. And so to me, I don't understand how unless they have a guy targeted that they think's going to get cut loose later in free agency or later into training camp or something. I'm nervous about going into the season with Austin Jackson, Teron Armstead, and Kendall Lamb, and that's it right now, really, for offensive tackle.
Alf, what do you think? Do you think they pick somebody up, or do you think they go for the draft as far as for tackle? Because clearly he's right. We have to add at least one tackle that can at least compete on this team.
Yeah, they're short one guy. I do expect that they'll bring back Eric Fisher eventually. And, but he helps as far as depth for Teron Armstead. And Kendall Lamb is the swing guy that can play both positions, right?
Right.
So I would say, yeah, like it makes perfect sense to go into this draft looking for an offensive tackle, but I wouldn't reach for one at 51 because if you start doing that, I think what you're doing is that you're playing that game where because you have a need, you're passing up on your best player available on your board. And this team, the way that they are set up as far as right now, if they could find a playmaker at another position, or they could get a premium player at a position. For example, even on the same offensive line, let's say Steve Avila's there, okay? Let's say you have a DeJuan Jones and you have Steve Avila. Okay, Steve Avila, in my opinion, would be one of the better guards coming out this year in this year's draft. He would start day one as your left guard, and you could have reasonable expectation that this guy is going to be a premium player for you for the next 10 years. Okay, DeJuan Jones is a guy that you could probably plug and play at right tackle, but he could be a bad fit because he's not overly athletic. He's a lot like Trent Brown. So you'll be solving the immediate need at right tackle, but you're not necessarily getting the closest thing to a sure thing, while you would with Steve Avila. And when you have a shorter quarterback like Tua Tagovailoa, you kind of want to keep him clean up the middle. And I think, to be honest with you, I think that taking Steve Avila over a DeJuan Jones at 51 makes much more sense.
You could. I mean, I don't know. This is realistic, but you could still potentially move Robert Hunt to right tackle as well if you get a plug and play guard right away that's solid. So
yeah. Although if you move Robert Hunt to right tackle, now you opened up right guard.
Right. I'm just saying though, at least
because we have no left guard either, really.
Yeah, but it gives you some flexibility if Austin Jackson's just getting destroyed, early on.
Yeah. I think that's their break glass in case of emergency setting is to move Robert Hunt out there. I think that they have something else up their sleeves. They know that something's going to shake out sooner or later from somewhere, because it's, every indication has been there. They've told Barry Jackson the same thing. And then I found it really, really curious how Mike McDaniel said that when he first got here, all the meetings were about, we got to go get this offensive tackle and that offensive tackle and this guard and this center. And he was like, no, what we need is playmakers on this offense. And sure enough, his opinion was the first that was actually proven right here in the last, 20 years offensively? Yeah. We improved from 25th to 6th. And that was with our starting quarterback, missing the better part of about 5 games. So, yeah, I would tend to listen to that guy. I think at 51, if Mike McDaniel says, forget this tackle nonsense, unless, you never get lucky. Maybe you get lucky, and Darrell Wright drops to you, then, yeah, sure. You're going to take him because that's a first-round talent, right? Mm-hmm. But let's face it, that's not going to happen. So if that doesn't happen and Mike McDaniel says, you know what? Let's keep this evolution going. We had a Deebo Samuel in San Francisco. Let's get our own Deebo Samuel in Jonathan Mingo. I think that they'll go in that direction. I think that Chris Greer will listen to him and go in that direction. And remember, they still have assets to bear to go get that tackle as soon as the draft is over. They're going to have $13 million in cap space opening up. They're going to use, since they only have 4 draft picks, they're going to use less than half of that to sign those draft picks in June 1st. So they'll have money for a guy if they wish to trade for one. Okay. Now, if a guy that's good enough maybe gets cut, there's a dispute as far as where he's going to play. Something very similar on the long lines of what's happening with Terrence Steele. They're going to also have some flexibility to be able to throw a contract his way. So I'm very interested to see what happens, what shakes out in that Dallas situation, because it's screaming complete mismanagement to me with what's going on in Dallas.
Refresh me on that, Alf. What do you have to give up to get him right now? Because they tendered him, right?
Yeah, you have to give up a second-round pick. You have to give up a second-round pick for him right now.
But you have to give up a second-round pick. You have to make him an offer, and then you have to wait 5 days to see if Dallas will match it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
I don't think Dallas has money though. Like they're cap strapped, aren't they? I
think playing the long game with Dallas to see where that shakes out, I think is the better play.
All right.
And I don't understand what Dallas is doing. Terrence Steele, yes, he hurt his knee, but nowadays ACLs, like I told somebody, an ACL is like a jam thumb nowadays, especially for offensive linemen.
It doesn't scare me too much for an offensive lineman. So I mean, to me, that would be an immediate upgrade for us. I mean, we got him.
Huge. That would fill the spot. I mean, that would be it. Steele, problem solved.
Yeah, Terrence Steele is the type of guy that you put him there at right tackle, and when Teron Armstead is gone, you can move him over. You can leave him at right tackle. Terrence Steele is a near elite right tackle. Dallas, for whatever reason, they drafted a guy to play left tackle. Terrence Steele doesn't play left tackle; he plays right tackle. And they decided, okay, we're not moving. I believe his name is Keon Smith at left tackle. We're not moving him. But what we're going to do is the guy who's been here 1,000 years but has had a million injuries, Tyron Smith, and we're paying a pile of money to, we're going to put him at right tackle. It's essentially politics. They're essentially saying we're going to put the guy that we're paying a lot of money to at right tackle. And maybe we'll try Terrence Steele at guard since he's such a good run blocker because he is. He's one of the most elite run blockers at tackle anywhere in the league. I don't think that's good mismatch. I think that's completely mismanaged.
Oh, to
situation
me,
by Dallas.
I don't care. I just was trying to figure out if the Miami could get him because we
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
desperately
If I'm Miami, I'm looking at that situation. I'm like, their dysfunction could be our gain. So
Right.
I'm monitoring that situation throughout.
Do you think that maybe because it seems that teams don't want to play the game with the tendered free agents, it just doesn't seem that anybody really wants to make these offers, wait on it, wait for the match. Do you think that perhaps they just wait for it's 6 days before the draft and this tender thing goes away, that drops off? Do you think they could just wait till then and then just offer Dallas a second round pick, then figure out the negotiation with Terrence Steele? Or I mean, what are the thoughts? Because I mean, this second round tender has been hanging out there now, what, a month?
Well, I think
we haven't done anything.
In Miami's case, they got to wait until they clear the cap space from Byron Jones to offer him the contract. So that would be
June
I don't think
1st, right? June 2nd.
Yeah, whatever. It's early June. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to understand
that's after the draft.
Yeah, and the trade deadline is in October. So remember, it could go right to October. You know what I mean?
Right. I just don't trust Chris Greer drafting any lineman, man. Any lineman that he's planning on like in the second round and planning on just plugging this guy in and hoping he starts. I just don't trust him to do it. He's just been so terrible at it.
Oh no, I'm with you. I mean, like I said, I'd love to see them get a Darnell Washington or a Sam Laporta, or if they want to bring in an explosive receiver or back. Either one of those things. You add a third explosive receiver on the field, or you add a running back that's a nightmare. This offense just becomes that much more potent. I'm all for those things. I'm just saying what it appears they're making moves is leaning towards they're going to go get an offensive tackle. That's all. Gotcha.
What about adding a defensive player? Now, I know last year we gave McDaniel a bunch of toys and he went and got him a whole bunch of players. I mean, they signed everybody. Then they even drafted Eazy-E. I mean, they went kind of crazy on it. And then this offseason, it's been about the defense and upgrading that and getting Fangio his toys. What if we went the defensive direction with, say, that second round pick? Who's out there? Or what position do you think makes sense? Could it be safety? Could it be another linebacker, perhaps?
I think linebacker makes some sense. There's a few guys that could drop to you. Like, let's say Trenton Simpson drops to you. Well, first of all, if you take him, you're essentially, I guess, busting down Channing Tindall in the depth chart immediately, which doesn't bode well.
I forgot that we even drafted him, man. He just didn't play at all. I keep forgetting we even have him.
Which doesn't bode well for your draft pick from last year, right? So I would say, Trent Simpson, like let's say he drops to 51. You take him at 51. What you're essentially telegraphing is, okay, he's going to play a lot. You're going to keep your linebackers fresh, which means Jerome Baker's not going to play this ridiculous amount of snaps that he usually plays every single year. And David Long is not going to play a lot of snaps. Those three guys.
That can be good and bad.
Yeah, those three guys are essentially going to take up most of the snaps with a little bit of Channing Tindall sprinkled in, mostly on third down. And then in a year's time, you're freeing up cap space from Jerome Baker and putting Trenton Simpson in his spot permanently. So that would telegraph a couple of things. It's good roster management, but does that really help you win a Super Bowl this year? Probably not. But it is good roster management if you take somebody like that, especially somebody like Trenton Simpson. Like, if he drops to 51, he's probably dropped maybe 30. I mean, I would not 30, but 20 picks from where he should go. He should be a late first rounder, Trenton Simpson. So if he drops to you at 51, you probably got lucky, and you're setting yourself up for a pretty good roster situation going forward.
What do you think, Chad? Any defensive?
I don't think there's any defensive spots open. I'll start there. But
let's wait. I'm gonna just throw one out there. When Fangio likes to play a lot of that big nickel, the three safeties, do we really feel that we have those three safeties on this team right now?
Yeah, I think they do.
Okay.
I mean, Elliott was a 1-year contract. I think so. Right now, our our draft assets are so limited. We have 4 picks total or something like that.
4 or 5.
Because we don't have a lot of picks, it'd have to be a clearly best player available sort of thing. Otherwise, you just wait till next year and address maybe in the draft. You could maybe get a safety or a linebacker next year. I don't know what to make of Tyndall yet. He's very athletic, and so I would hope he's going to get some snaps in. But obviously, they brought in Andrew Van Ginkel, which gives him, he can play a strong side linebacker or an edge, and he does that pretty well in special teams. So he's back. And I agree with Alpha. I think this is probably Jerome Baker's last year with the team. I think next year he's probably going to go just for cap reasons, unless he has an unreal season or something. He'll be starting to get into his late 20s. He's a big cap hit. That might
Even if he has an unreal season, I don't know how they continue trying to build what they're building and not blow up the team and then re-sign him to some kind of big contract. I just don't know how they do that.
Well, I think he's probably, and so along with what Alf saying, if you get, or maybe like a Jack Campbell, if you get a linebacker available that you feel like can be a long-term starter in your defensive core, then maybe you make that move. But the other one to maybe watch a little bit would be edge, and because I just don't see Emmanuel Ogbah being here next year for sure. With it this year, it would make sense to cut him. I still think he's too good to be a rotational defensive end in this league, where it's a very, very important position to have a good edge. And so I still think you're going to see an injury in training camp, or you're going to see some team that doesn't get what they wanted in the draft, and we're going to get a pick for Ogbah. I think that's going to happen unless we have an injury. I mean, we have him. It's a nice luxury. Kevin Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, and Emmanuel Ogbah. But I think it's going to make more sense for the team to maybe target a young defensive end that can be the 3rd or 4th rotational defensive end that's going to be an affordable player for the next 3 or 4 years. So that could be somebody, if there's a player that's best player available that's on the board at 2 or 3 that's a DN, they might trigger on.
Yeah, under Vic Fangio's new system, the system that he's implementing, you're going to see Sealer and Wilkins play a lot of that 5 tech, which is Emmanuel Ogbah's like bread and butter. So, right. They'll be short a guy if they get rid of Emmanuel Ogbah. I think if it gets past the draft and Ogbah's still here. Hey, there's Lewis.
What's up, Lewis?
What's up, guys?
Are you in your moving truck, dude?
I am.
Driving down the road? You're a trucker?
I thought maybe you were in an airplane bathroom or something.
No. Although it may sound like that.
Is your fiance in the seat next to you, or is she back in the truck with the stuff?
She's in front of me.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
So how's everything going, guys? Did we discuss the bet yet?
No.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Chad. I lost yet another bet. The chat. I don't even remember what it was. Oh, yeah, it was Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo was going to make $20 million plus.
Yeah, I said you were crazy.
Wasn't it 25 million more or plus or no?
It was 20. Yeah.
I
said he was going to get 20 million this year, but that was when Ron was really wanting Jimmy to be our backup quarterback.
I still wish that could have happened. It would have been a good backup.
He's too good for that. That's basically what I was saying.
It was very early on, very, very, very early on in free agency where we learned that Jimmy Garoppolo had more options. It was something that the Dolphins wanted. It was definitely up their wheelhouse. It was in their wheelhouse. Like, hey, we would want this to happen.
Oh,
but
sure.
they were made aware very, very early on. No, this guy has a real market, and the Raiders, they went crazy. I think that's easily the worst signing of the offseason.
Ooh, okay, all right, I like it.
He's a good player. He's a good quarterback.
I don't understand how dropping Carr and grabbing Garoppolo improves your team.
Yeah, you're essentially trading one guy for another. That they're essentially the same guy. Garoppolo's a little safer than Derek Carr. But Derek Carr is durable, and Jimmy Garoppolo, there isn't an injury that he doesn't like. He's first of all, he has to avoid playing the Dolphins. The Dolphins have ended his season 3 years in 3 different years.
Yeah, that's hilarious. 3 different. I guess it's not hilarious for Garoppolo, but that's crazy because we don't even play San Fran that well. We did it in New England the first time.
Yeah, when he was in New England, we knocked him out for the season.
And
in New
Jacoby
England.
Brissett came in and played.
Yeah,
right?
Jacoby Brissett came in, and then Hoyer started the following week, and then Brady came back. So and then Jimmy Garoppolo never returned. In San Francisco was that year that we blew them out, and then this year, of course, again we get rid of them and we usher in the Brock Purdy era. So
yeah, if you guys you mind if we veer and gossip AFC East a little bit here?
Yeah, why not? I think we beat up second and third round enough.
All right, so
I'm good with it.
I have an analogy here for you, Ron. You'll appreciate this one because
Okay.
you're in real estate world, right? Sell them anyway.
Yeah, I was in mortgage.
So
for a while.
if you're showing a house, let me say that if you're a real estate agent, you're showing a house and you have a couple look at it, you can kind of tell like when they really want it, right? You know they want it pretty bad.
Yeah, I actually was about to move to Tennessee. Had my house listed. It had first people came in, they were like, "Oh yeah," and then they walked in. I don't know why, because it's a great house. Everybody else loved it. They walked in. They were out in 3 minutes, and me and Jackie, my wife, looked at each other like, "Yeah, they didn't like that house." Right. Yeah, you could definitely tell if they like it or not, even if they try to pretend.
So right now, the New York Jets are that couple that they are 100% in love with that house that's Aaron Rodgers right now. The media is talking about the fans. Everybody's talking about Aaron Rodgers right now as if he is the Jets quarterback next year, right? Yeah. So if you're a New York Jets fan, you're watching this right now, I don't know why you would be, but if you are, you need to get nervous. And I mean really nervous right now. And the reason is it's all over the news. I'm sure you guys have heard that Bill Belichick is shopping Mac Jones.
Oh.
And there's a reason Bill Belichick is shopping Mac Jones. And so maybe he wants a quarterback in this draft, but when this draft passes, and if Aaron Rodgers is not on the New York Jets roster, you should be extremely nervous. And here's multiple reasons why. Brock Purdy, that is one name you just mentioned. San Francisco could easily move Trey Lance right now, go make a deal and get Aaron Rodgers. And what a great pairing to put Brock Purdy, who has to rehabilitate his arm, with Aaron Rodgers, because the 49ers are a Super Bowl team right now, right? With Aaron Rodgers.
Yes. They're a Super Bowl team with Brock Purdy, honestly.
You know, another team that could really get interested in Aaron Rodgers that has the ability to swing a trade is the Baltimore Ravens. So you need to pay attention right now, because I don't think Lamar Jackson's going back to Baltimore. That relationship is sour right now. You think he's going to go back?
I
don't know.
Whatever team decides they want to bring in Lamar Jackson, whatever deal they negotiate, Baltimore is going to be like, yeah, we'll match that, and he's going to go back to Baltimore.
But what if the Baltimore Ravens work out a deal with the Packers to get Aaron Rodgers, and they can ship Lamar Jackson off and get their 2 number ones?
But hasn't Aaron Rodgers already agreed in principle to the Jets? And really, he has, even though there's not a no trade clause, he still has to agree to it because of, he
has to agree. So do you think
he still has to agree?
I'm asking you, though,
he has to agree due to the money. That's the only reason he has to agree.
But that means he has to agree. And I'm just thinking, is Aaron Rodgers going to do that unless he just says, "Look, we're going to trade you anywhere"? Unless the Packers just say, "We'll trade you anywhere," but Aaron Rodgers to the Jets.
The Aaron Rodgers, people have misunderstood the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. Everybody was making it sound like, okay, he has a no trade clause. No, he doesn't have a no trade clause. What he has is a don't mess with my money clause. Okay.
Right.
So what he was doing is he was calling teams, and like he was calling the Jets, and he was saying, look, I don't want my money touched. What I'm owed, I'm owed. I want what I'm guaranteed stays guaranteed, and I want the same structure that I'm getting paid with in Green Bay, which means I'm getting this money no matter what. The Jets said, you got it. So then he said, okay, I'll go to the Jets.
And the Jets have a team that would keep his money intact. But I'm just pointing out, like, what happens if San Francisco is interested in Aaron Rodgers?
He wants to be on the West Coast, we're told, right?
That's a really good team, too.
And he's
Deebo Samuel.
Dude, I'm telling you, Aaron Rodgers, he is San Fran. And when I say, I don't mean the team, I mean the town.
Right.
Like that dude fits. Like sometimes you send quarterbacks to a place and they fit. Ryan Tannehill, he didn't just fit Tennessee. That dude fit Nashville. You know what I mean? Like he was a perfect fit for that town. They embraced him. He embraced them. It was just his personality was just right for them. Aaron Rodgers is not. And we said this before, Alf. Remember, we even said Aaron Rodgers ain't going to the Jets. He ain't going to New York. I know. I bet anything he'd rather be in San Fran. Plus, San Fran's a way better team. Aaron Rodgers in San Fran, that's probably Super Bowl. I mean, let's be honest.
Right. And I'm not speculating that's what's going on. I'm just pointing out there's something moving with the whole, like, if Bill Belichick's willing to ship Mac Jones out, because I think low-key, that seat's starting to heat up right now. I mean, you also kind of heard the reports that Robert Kraft wasn't overly like committal to Bill Belichick if they had a losing season. The roster, to me, Belichick's running the roster almost into the ground, at least from an offensive talent standpoint. I mean, I don't even see how the Patriots can compete in the East right now with the way the Dolphins
and the word is out. I've been saying this for years, and some players say it privately and tell me privately, and then some more publicly. And now Asante Samuel is actually putting it out there. Nobody wants to play for him.
Right.
Like that's the Bill Belichick.
Yeah, that's right.
The Bill Belichick mystique ended when he pissed off Tom Brady.
Right.
And Tom Brady left, and he went to go win a title in Tampa Bay.
But if you're a Jets fan and you're all in on Aaron Rodgers right now, the idea that the Jets just have to wait is, to me, the leverage is massively shifting to the Packers after the draft. Because what happens if the Colts just don't get the guy they want in this draft? You know, maybe the Colts suddenly are interested in trading for a Trey Lance, or maybe the Colts are suddenly interested in trading for a Mac Jones. And once one of those trades moves, then somebody might have the trade capital to go after a Lamar Jackson. And if somebody goes after a Lamar Jackson, then the Ravens have a spot opens up. Then you suddenly have Aaron Rodgers as a real, if you're a Super Bowl contender right now, Aaron Rodgers is attractive to go and get him if you don't have a quarterback. The other thing is that I think the Packers can wait all the way almost till September before they have to do anything with Aaron Rodgers. What happens if Patrick Mahomes tears his ACL in a preseason game or in training camp? Maybe it's a team like the Chiefs even will say, you know what, we'll go after Aaron Rodgers because we're going to try to win the Super Bowl this year. My point I'm making is time right now is not on the Jets side. And if you're a Jets fan and you don't have that deal done before the draft, you need to start getting nervous because things can start shaking up after the draft. And I think there's things moving around a little bit right now behind the scenes. And so my thought, if you would have asked me 3 weeks ago if Aaron Rodgers is going to the Jets, I'd have said like 95% sure he's going to the Jets, unless he himself just decides to retire out of nowhere. But now I think it's getting more like 90%, 85%, because they're starting to have other scenarios are starting to spin around a little bit. And if I were the Jets, I would quit messing around and I would just give the Packers what they want right now. Because
the Packers want the moon. I'm sure they want some insane.
I think the Packers want that
package.
13th pick. And
Right.
the Jets are like, we're not giving you this 13th.
Well, then I don't know why they. You know what? The Jets have backed themselves into a corner. They have to.
They are.
They it was a whole
That's
public
what I'm
thing.
thinking, too.
They signed
That's what I'm
all
thinking, too,
these
Ron.
guys. They have to. They don't have a choice. I don't know what they're waiting for. I mean, they're waiting to call the Packers.
No, like Chris Early in the comments says, does Tua fit Miami? Tua's from Ewa Beach in Hawaii. His childhood home where he lived most of his life until he left Hawaii to go play at Alabama is 100 yards from the ocean. Okay.
Yeah.
He had never seen snow in his life until he saw it when Alabama played, I believe. Who was it that they played that it kind of snowed? Was
I
it
don't even know.
Was it
Maybe
in Tennessee
Kentucky.
where it was kind
Kentucky
of
or
cold?
Tennessee, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the first time he saw snow. Trust me. And Tua also has the golf bug. Tua was made for being until the NFL puts a franchise in Hawaii, in Honolulu. Tua was made to be in Miami.
Duke is just messing around. That's what he's doing there. He's a Tua night at 2, I think. So I'm not.
I mean, Tua's not going anywhere for minimum.
No, but you know what?
Probably 2.
But you know what? I agree with Ron that the Jets have put themselves in a corner. There's really nowhere they can go at this point. You have to trade for Aaron Rodgers now because you've got the whole fan base hyped up about a future Hall of Fame quarterback going to be leading your team. If you suddenly back out of it now because you're not willing to pay whatever the Green Bay Packers are asking for, there's going to be an uproar beyond all belief. And I guarantee you fans will not show up for those games because they don't want to watch Zach Wilson when Aaron Rodgers was in their grasp and all they had to do was say, here you go.
Yeah,
And that's
There's
all
a
I'm
flip
gonna
side.
say.
Fireman Ed gone again.
What
That's
do
all
you
I'm
do
gonna
if you're
say.
the
I gotta
Jets,
go.
man?
I will see you guys. Keep doing
you,
what
Lewis.
you're doing. Appreciate you guys for everything.
See you, Lewis. Thanks, man.
All right, Lewis.
So I guess that's my
There's a
question.
flip
What do you
side.
do? What do you do
The-
if you're suddenly it appears you're not going to get Aaron Rodgers right now for the Jets? What do you do?
Man, I mean, they have to go get Lamar.
There's a report out there that Minnesota's willing to listen for Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins to San Fran, I heard.
Yes. Now that makes a lot of sense. And I would love to see that because I happen to think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. So I would love nothing more if the Dolphins don't win the Super Bowl, that Kirk Cousins goes to San Francisco and wins the Super Bowl.
Right.
So
I could also
laugh,
see again.
I can laugh at people on Twitter.
Bringing up a guy. I could see Kirk Cousins being a guy Bill Belichick really likes.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
A guy
that's
that
a
makes
fit
sense.
too. I don't want Kirk Cousins in the division. Not that I think he's amazing,
Sure.
but I just he's definitely an upgrade over Mac Jones.
Right, and
He's a
the
tough
type of
competitor. He's
quarterback
a
that Belichick
solid quarterback.
Yeah.
You know.
So anyway, I was just that was my little AFC East gossip section. Is right now for that realtor analogy, this is when you feel that couple desperately wants this house, and so what you tell them, this is the 101 book for realtor is, just let me know. I know I got to show it later today to somebody else.
Oh
that's
yeah,
what you're saying.
that's always I've got 3 showings. And every time I would trust my wife. My wife's a realtor. I was a mortgage guy. My wife's a realtor. She would go take a couple or somebody to a house. Nobody had even looked at that house, and there was no offers on it for like 40 days. And magically, when she submits an offer, now magically they have another offer.
Right.
Or they have
and
another
that's
offer. Come
my
on,
point.
man. That's
is
what they do every time.
like for the Jets, to me, even that 13th overall pick, they put themselves in a position. You have to get there.
You have to. I believe that the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. I think that's going to happen. I think it's just.
Well, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets want it to happen, but I'm just pointing out Green Bay's game right now, the long game, starts to get nerve-wracking after the draft because there's going to be somebody out there that doesn't have the guy they want at quarterback. And it doesn't have to be Aaron Rodgers. Like the Colts, to me, if they don't get a lot of people have them going after Trent Richardson, I think, in the draft. If the Colts don't get a quarterback that's good in the draft, right? Or let's say the Washington Redskins get sold to a new owner and they don't really have a quarterback to excite their fan base. Trey Lance, I just think he's the odd man out in San Francisco, don't you? Do you really think he's the future now in San Francisco?
No,
but
I think they're going to give up on that, even though they traded a lot for it. They're going to realize he's just not the guy.
He's really young and talented yet, though, right? He's definitely a tradable commodity to a team like the Colts or maybe even the Falcons or a team like that. To me, the point I'm making is that another team can suddenly become a player out of nowhere for Aaron Rodgers, and I think after the draft, you might see a little bit of a shakeup in that market. I'm not saying I know that. I'm not saying that's what I'm expecting to happen. I'm just starting to see the feasibility of it happen right now.
There's also the flip side to all of this. Let's say Green Bay all of a sudden, grows a conscience of over what they've done to Aaron Rodgers for the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say they use their picks on offensive players and they're attractive offensive players. And now Aaron Rodgers can say this, and there's not much that Green Bay can do about it, right? Mm-hmm. He could say, you know what? I'm coming back for one last year, then I'm retiring. I'm coming back for my retirement tour in Green Bay.
Right.
That could happen. That could happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised.
I know Odell Beckham. The Green Bay signs him.
I'd be surprised though, because when Aaron Rodgers emerged from the darkness, he seemed to have a sour attitude about Green Bay and the.
I think
he wanted to retire. He said he was 90% retired. Remember?
Yeah.
I think in general, the Packers and Aaron Rodgers are ready to part ways today. But to me, there's also the insurance aspect of it. If you're the Jets, how are you feeling if you're the Jets and August gets here and training camp starts up? What is your number one fear every day when first of all, Aaron Rodgers isn't in the building. He's still in the Packers.
Oh, that's a nightmare. If it's August and they still don't have Rodgers, that's a nightmare.
Well, how about this? Even if they don't, they're still trying to wait this out. Preseason games going or training camps going, and you see Jordan Love get lit up. like just hammered. Or he has a really odd twist on his knee and he drops to the turf and he's holding his knee. What are you thinking if you're the Jets right now? I think Jordan Love may have just tore his ACL.
And Aaron Rodgers is
And
still
Aaron
in
Rodgers
Green
is
Bay?
still under contract on Green Bay. Are they going to ship Aaron Rodgers out of there if Jordan Love's out for the year?
Probably not, just because the way it looks, the optics of that. I honestly believe that Green Bay is in it for the tank. I don't think starting Jordan Love is, this guy's our new starting quarterback. I think he's just a guy they'll start, that they'll get a top pick and they'll draft a quarterback next year. That's my thought process and what they're doing. I have seen zero from Jordan Love.
I don't
think that he's all of a sudden gonna
the
lead
Packers,
Green Bay
because
anywhere.
there's no owner. So like if you're an owner, tanking might make sense, but if you just have a GM if you're Green Bay and that's your job. So if you're
But
losing,
their GM wants to keep the train going of really good quarterbacks.
right?
And he did not, and he thought he had that, they drafted Aaron Rodgers early before Brett Favre left. We're going to draft Jordan Love, and it ticked off Aaron Rodgers. But not only did it tick off Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love just ain't been that guy. I mean,
we just don't know, really. Like he hasn't hardly played
I
because
guess he
of Aaron
hasn't
Rodgers
played that much, but I don't know if we see it, man.
Right. The point I'm making is if you're the New York Jets and your entire season, your fan base and everything revolves around Aaron Rodgers being your quarterback, that to me is nerve-wracking as you go into the offseason. If what happens if Jordan Love gets arrested or something happens to Jordan Love or another starting quarterback?
Is he a bad boy?
No, I'm just saying, like, any of those things immediately change the whole dynamic of the Aaron Rodgers situation.
I agree. If it got down to that, it came to August, I think it's a problem. I personally believe that Rodgers will be a Jet somewhere in the days leading up to this year's draft.
Right.
That's what I think is going to happen most likely. I mean, it would be hilarious if Rodgers went to San Fran or something like that and the Jets were just left. Like I said, I think they go make a move for Lamar instantly. I think that's what would happen. But which might even be worse for us, really.
No, and I would rather have Aaron because I just don't know how long he'll play or
exactly a year or two, and I'm not even sure if Aaron Rodgers that we saw 2 years ago will be the same Aaron Rodgers ever again. I don't know. The guy is 40, not everybody's Brady, right? So I do wonder. I mean,
the thing is that everybody saw Brady, so everybody thinks that everybody is Brady.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I say that when I say that it never works that way, it never works that way. Usually when guys hit 40 and quarterbacks when they hit around 38, 37, it's right off a cliff. Brady is the only one. So everybody waiting for Brady to reincarnate themselves into Aaron Rodgers, that's why part of me is thinking, I want this to happen and I want it to be a complete disaster so I can laugh at Jet fans all year as they go 8-9,
or like what happens if you do all this and like game 3, Aaron Rodgers just says, my heart's not in it, guys. I'm just gonna hang it up.
I'm telling you, depending on how the
people forget
goes.
People forget that last year Green Bay, had a much softer schedule than anything the Jets are going to have this year. They had a talented defense. They actually ended up with a top 5 defense, top 2 in passing, and I believe it was top 5 in yards and top 10 in points allowed. They have a really talented defense, one of the best running games in football. They had one of the best offensive lines in football. 8-9. They had a home game and a raucous crowd to make the playoffs and lost to Detroit.
Yeah.
Who had nothing to play for, but the only thing they had to play for was we want to make sure they don't go to the playoffs because they said that out loud. In fact, their coach, Dan Campbell, said, we got something to play for. We want to make sure they don't make the playoffs. But if you think about it, there's a reason why the NFL does the schedule. Like we know everybody who's going to play whom and whether it's on home or road, none of that matters. What matters is the order you're going to do it in, right? And when's your bye week and what do those road stretches look like and all that. When they wait till May to do that schedule because you get the bulk of free agency and you get the draft. So now we can really schedule this out, who we want when, who's the primetime games, who's the good games. I mean, first 4 weeks, if the Jets end up playing Miami, Buffalo, Kansas City, and I don't know, one of the other hard teams we got to play. I mean, what if they end up like 1-3 or 0-4? Like, that's not going to go good for that team and Rodgers with that New York media. That's a nightmare. And that is there is realistically a chance of something like that happening.
No, Absolutely. It is. So if you want me to spin just one more conspiracy, then I'll drop the
yeah, you can hit me with all the conspiracies you want, as long as they're just sports ones.
Here's the other rumor going around is that the Titans are looking to move up to number 3 in the draft. Have you guys heard this one?
I have not.
That's being reported around, which to me would suggest that are they going to keep Ryan Tannehill then? If you're moving all the way up to 3, they'd be probably going after a quarterback, don't you think? Maybe
I think they're already out on Tannehill kind of anyway, but he's just there still, so they're hanging on. But
so who's coaching the Titans right now? Vrabel, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would venture to guess that Bill Belichick has his phone number still. He played for him. What if Bill Belichick is interested in Ryan Tannehill? So he's trying to move Mac Jones to get picks to give to the Titans, who want to move up to chase a quarterback in the draft.
One problem with that conspiracy theory: Bill Belichick despises Mike Vrabel.
Do they really? Yes. I would not have guessed that.
Yeah.
I thought maybe
Mike Vrabel embarrassed him. Mike Vrabel embarrassed him in the playoffs by doing that. Remember when he kept doing that. What was it that they were doing? They were doing offsides on purpose.
Where they purposely get the penalty. He was just doing back to Belichick.
To kill 10, and they were killing 10. It was hilarious because he kept taking 10 seconds off the clock, and he ended up killing like 50 seconds.
He learned
and
from
Bill Belichick was jumping up and down like he's killing the entire clock.
Yeah.
And they told him, "Hey, it's within the rules, man. He's allowed to do that."
Didn't they change that rule the next year?
Yes, they did. They changed it because Mike Vrabel did it to Bill Belichick.
I love he did it to Belichick because he's somebody that would do that exact thing. And maybe that's true, but I was just kind of pointing because I guess to me, I've been pondering the whole Mac Jones thing. If that's true, and I kind of think it is, from the way it's swirling
that
around.
He's shopping Mac Jones.
That he shopped.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me at all. But my question is, if he is, I guess it goes back to your first thought. Like who's New England going to go for it?
Right. Are they looking to move up in the draft or?
Well, if he's shopping Mac Jones, what does he think? First of all, they invested, what was it? Pick number 14 overall. That's a first round pick on a quarterback.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Just 2 years ago.
And he was fine as a rookie. He had a good rookie season.
He had a good rookie season.
Now he was terrible last year. So
but a lot of that was just.
That's complete mismanagement because there's no way that I would think that anybody in the league is going to give him a first round pick, right? Like it would make a lot of sense. Like, okay, you get a first round pick. Like it would make a lot of sense if Belichick gets a first round pick for him, and then he's packaging his pick with that first round pick, and he's moving up to get one of these top quarterbacks, right?
I don't see anybody giving up a first round pick, even a low one for Mac Jones.
No, I don't either.
I just don't see that.
Let's just say that Mac Jones's best value is what? A late second round pick?
Yeah.
I could see again, this is after the draft. So let's say a team like the Colts don't get a quarterback they were targeting. Maybe they offer a second in the next year that can become a first if Mac Jones makes the Pro Bowl or based on an incentive, like where Mac Jones has to be really good for him. That would probably be the best I could see. I don't think somebody's going to say, we'll just give you our first round pick. I don't think that'll happen, but I don't know. I don't know where you value him. To me, though, right now I think there is, and I don't know if it's just as much talent based as it is relationship based, because Mac Jones was fairly outspoken. There was I don't know if this was true. Maybe you guys have heard that there was a rumor that Mac Jones actually called up Nick Saban and Alabama offensive coordinators asking them for help because the offensive coordinators were so bad in New England.
You got to consider too, Saban and Belichick are like, they're besties.
Yeah. So,
you would have to think that Saban might have said, "Hey, your quarterback called me for help." Like
exactly.
Just so you
that's the point I'm making.
Isn't telling on him. He's
the relationship.
Really
I think is
frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you saw Mac Jones on the sideline of that Raider game or whatever it was, where he was basically saying these clowns don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. I know.
He did. These plays are effing horrible. They don't know what they're doing. Like, yeah, we saw that happen a few times throughout the season. I don't blame him. He was going through last year what Tua went through the previous year. with the three-headed
who
Hydra.
even is the offensive coordinator?
Yeah, who even is the offensive coordinator? Oh, it's a
was.
defensive coordinator. That's cool. But now I wonder if they all of a sudden now are deciding, hey, we might be shopping Mac Jones. Did Bill O'Brien come? Him and I'm sure him and Belichick are close. I mean, he's been with that team a few times, right? Belichick clearly trusts him. Did they get together, watch film, and decide maybe we should go in a different direction? Because Belichick wants what more than anything? Not even a Super Bowl. He wants Shula's record.
Right.
So he's just trying to pile up as many wins as he can pile up, whatever he can do.
But those wins could come. Those wins could be
fires him, or you know what I mean, or he retires.
But those wins are going to be hard to come by, man. If you think about it, if you look at his roster and you look at what the East looks like, those wins, like it could take him 3 full seasons to get those 17 wins.
Oh, easy.
And I don't know if the patience are there for it. Because I mean, now,
who the hell's going to take 3 consecutive seasons of 5-12?
Yeah, if that's their big question. What if New England goes like 5-12 this year? Because then it's telling you it's probably going to be beyond the following season to break Shula's record. And the other thing is, I mean, he's under a lot of scrutiny with his talent acquisition. I mean, you just look at the league. You say the Bills have Josh Allen, so they get him Stephon Diggs. The Dolphins give Tua, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle. And the Jets have Garrett Wilson. They're adding Alan Lazard for Aaron Rodgers right now. The teams are loaded up. The Jets have Bryce. Who's their running back again? Breece Hall. Sorry.
Breece Hall.
And my point is the Dolphins, the Bills, and the Jets have all done this arm race, and they're just loaded on talent. And then you flop over to New England, and you're watching what's Belichick doing? Well, last year he acquired Nelson Aguilar, and this year he went and got Juju, and he added Gesicki. And like, is that really like an even playing field to compete with Buffalo and the Dolphins? And I mean, Miami and Buffalo right now are both strong playoff contenders, maybe Super Bowl contenders. With their rosters.
The rosters are anyway, for sure.
And so I think the bigger issue right now for New England isn't even necessarily Bill Belichick's coaching, is how long can they continue to let him be the GM of the team?
Yeah, because offensively, on the offensive side, he has been piss poor at drafting offensive talent probably for 15 years. That's the truth.
Yeah.
That's just
and here's the thing. And here's the thing about the Shula thing, because there would be a really easy answer to all of this, which would be, hey, Bill Belichick would just go to the Giants. But Brian Daboll is there, and he was just named coach of the year, rookie coach.
Brian Daboll's not going away for 3 years. He'd have to lose for 2 straight seasons, I think, at this point.
So that closed up for him, because if you guys remember, did you guys ever see the Bill Belichick documentary, Do Your Job? Have you ever saw that one?
I've heard about it. I haven't watched it.
Which one is that? Was that the one that was kind of like Hard Knocks?
It was kind of like Hard Knocks.
Yeah, it was before there was Hard Knocks. Yeah, I remember.
And he has a sit down with Bill Parcells and with Nick Saban, and
yeah, it was really good.
And they have like a conversation. He flat out tells Nick Saban, because Nick Saban's like, oh yeah, have you ever, is this like living the dream? They, when you started coaching with this, is this like living the dream, winning Super Bowls in the NFL? Being considered one of the best coaches? And he's like, no. My dream job is being the coach of the New York Giants. And he said it. And then he repeated it. He's like, yeah, in the perfect world, like, I think I'm going to end here. Like he said, I remember at the time when he said, I think I'm going to end here in New England, he thought that Tom Brady was going to stay there. Tom Brady left 2 years after that documentary. But he admitted, like, my dream job is the New York Giants. I think I'll stay here because, we have a good thing going here. We're winning Super Bowls. So I'll probably end my career here. He was probably thinking that Tom Brady would never leave. Now that it's looking like it's going to be a disaster for the next couple of years in New England, Giants are not beckoning. Are they going to fire Brian Daboll so he can get Shula's right?
There are Giants jobs out there.
He just took them to the playoffs, and they won a playoff game.
Yeah,
I think Belichick could get a job offer. Somebody will have an opening. Will he?
10 teams. If there's 10 openings next year, 10 teams are going to line up to get him. But the question is it a rebuild team that doesn't get him, puts him years out still trying to catch?
Well, the question is what is Belichick willing to do? Because it's one thing to say, come here and coach. We have a vacancy. It's another thing to say, all right, he'll be 71, 72. Yeah, come in. We're giving you the keys to the franchise. You'll be the GM. You make all the personnel decisions.
Yeah.
That's a whole other, issue that you're looking at, especially when you do have to step back and say, the guy, he's a defensive mastermind, but he does not appear to know anything about building offenses or even understanding how important good offensive staffing is. Like
I think we're all starting to see
having Brady.
That he had Brady, he had Josh McDaniels,
Mhm.
and those two, for the most part, especially Brady, is what drove the offensive success in New England. And without both those guys, not just one or the other, both of them, he's mostly kind of lost, but especially without Brady.
They had in New England a very comfortable mix that got upset as soon as Josh McDaniel left. Okay, and they had a comfortable mix that Miami's trying to replicate here, and that's one thing I loved. As soon as Mike McDaniel came in and he said no, they asked him about staffing, and he said, I kind of want 6 head coaches on my team. And some people misunderstood, he wants to hire a bunch of ex head coaches to head position groups. No, what he wanted was he wanted his own little capos, and he wanted to be the capo regime. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He wanted this to run like the mafia. He's the boss, and he has all the underbosses. He has a boss for the wide receivers, and God knows that whatever Wes Welker says goes. Because in year 1, you saw Wes Welker said Ezukanma's not ready, he's not playing, and the guy didn't play. The guy did not suit up until the final week of the season against the Jets, and that was because Skylar Thompson was playing. So they were trying to rekindle something there.
And Boyer clearly said the same thing about Tyndall.
Yeah, it was obvious. All these guys ran their groups. So what does Mike McDaniel do in year 2? He hires the most alpha defensive coordinator you can think of.
This is true. Yeah.
Vic Fangio. So do you think that Mike McDaniel is going to peek his head he's probably going to walk into those defensive meetings to make sure that the coffee maker is working, right?
To make sure that the defense remembers he's still the head coach, and it'll be until game day. Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Do something for this team. He's the head coach. I forgot.
That's one of the reasons I love Mike McDaniel. He has no ego. He wants to win. Think about it. That's what was going on in New England. Josh McDaniels and Tom Brady were handling the offense while he was out over here with Matt Patricia, Brian Flores, and whoever else, and his son running the defense. And the team was working perfectly that way. That's what Miami's trying to do, and I think it's going to work because, come on. You got the most alpha defensive coordinator you could get. And then we know Mike McDaniel
didn't just get
offense.
The most alpha defensive coordinator they get. They gave him a top 5 corner, and he gave him a defense that's loaded. Vic Fangio, that defense should be wicked this year. I mean, I don't see how it can't be unless they.
Yeah, and now Vic Fangio's talking trash to other coaches. I don't know if you saw that, right? Did you see that story that came out?
No, I did not.
He was at the coaches meetings and he was talking trash, he was creating coverages that none of them have ever seen before, and that he could do that now with the talent he has in Miami. So he's obviously pretty happy with what's going on.
All right, they gave him everything.
This might literally be the most talented defense that Fangio's ever had. I mean, it could be. I think he's really. I mean, you think about the most talented defense that Fangio's ever had. Probably the most talented offense that McDaniel's ever had, right? As far as some of the explosive weapons we have that they put together. Tua could clearly run this offense. I mean, Tua was built for this offense, it seems. You know what I mean? And I think some of it is this offense McDaniel has built. He built it around what Tua does well, which is why it falls apart when Tua gets hurt.
You know what? That's a very good question.
This team is ready, man.
That's a very, very good question. The 2018 Chicago Bears with Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator, okay? Mm-hmm. Their defense was number 1.
Did they have Khalil Mack at that time, or was he?
That's what I'm going to get to. They're number 1 in points, number 3 in yards. Yeah, this is one of the best defenses he's ever coached. That's 2018. Oddly enough, the Miami Dolphins hung 31 points on them with Brock Osweiler and Albert Wilson. Remember?
I forgot about that game. I was sitting at Beef O'Brady's watching that game, thinking, "What?"
Okay, so Brock Osweiler and Albert Wilson destroyed Vic Fangio's number 1 defense. All right.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
crazy. It was a one-off, but I'm just glad it was us if it was going to happen.
Yeah, if we're gonna test it, let's test it. That defense had a young Adrian Amos, who's a pretty good player. Prince Amukamara,
The corner from Nebraska. Yeah.
who's really good. Now we're getting into the Pro Bowlers, okay? Kyle Fuller, Pro Bowl corner. Eddie Jackson, all-world free safety and strong safety. Khalil Mack, all-world edge player. Akeem Hicks, all-world defensive tackle. Middle linebacker, Roquan Smith. Outside linebacker, Danny Trevathan.
Wow.
Outside linebacker, Leonard Floyd.
Okay,
Very
I
good
take
Aaron
it
Lee.
back. This is not the most talented defense.
That is a loaded defense.
No, but it's right
This is
there.
the second most talented one.
It's right there. I think it's right. I think this defense and our defense are right there with each other. Because if you think about it, who would you rather have, Akeem Hicks or Kristen Wilkins? They're like equals.
Wilkins.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have Wilkins.
Wilkins
Who would you
sure.
rather have, Kyle Fuller and Prince Amukamara or Ramsey and Howard?
Ramsey and Howard.
That's easy.
Yeah,
Okay,
that one's
Eddie
a- that one's
Jackson,
easy.
Eddie Jackson or Javon Holland. I think Eddie Jackson was better then.
Eddie Jackson's better.
Probably.
Okay, Khalil Mack or the assortment of edge players that we have in
The
Bradley
Khalil Mack of
Chubb.
Chicago. It's gotta be Mack, dude. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, we shut him down that day. He had like no sacks, no pressures, no nothing in that game.
Yeah.
How the hell did we score all these points against that defense?
Brock Osweiler, man, he's an
When we
all-time
couldn't
great.
score points against anybody that year, most years.
The key to that Fangio defense was having a 6'7" quarterback.
You
that
guys
could
want to
steal
laugh?
it.
You guys want to laugh a little bit? Okay, that
Yeah.
team that we played that day against the Bears, right? The Bears. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. Let me see if you answer it. All right, correctly. They had a two-headed monster at running back that was pretty damn good. Okay,
All right.
can you name the two guys?
This is 2018.
Yes. Don't start looking it up.
No, I'm not looking.
I'm-
at it. I remember
trying to
that
decide
there
when
was
David
one
Montgomery
like
was a
little
rookie.
guy. There was like this one really little guy, and I can't
Yes.
remember his name.
And
God, his
yeah,
name
that a
totally
two-headed
escaped
monster.
me.
That team was powered by that two-headed monster at running back.
When you say the names, I'm going to be mad because I used to play fantasy back then.
Was
too. I
it
should know
Howard?
these names.
Yes, Jordan Howard was the lead
Jordan
back.
Howard. There you go. He was
Jordan
their
Howard.
power.
And the third down back was
Cohen?
Tariq Cohen, remember?
Owen,
yeah.
yes, that was the guy.
You remember that in that game, they had a 4th and 1, and they threw a swing pass to Tariq Cohen on 4th and 1, and Rashad Jones came out of nowhere to trip him up and stop him.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. How the hell did we play? How the hell did we beat that team with Brock Osweiler, of all people?
Any given Sunday.
Yeah, that's right. It happens. It happens. We win in the division this year, guys. We'll end it on this. We win in the division this year. I think we are.
Yes.
Yeah, I do think so. I mean, obviously.
Oh wait,
homers.
Chris Early asked a question a while ago in the chat. He
that?
said, "Speaking
Oh,
of
my
Green
fault.
Bay's offensive lineman, would Josh Neiman be a good fit at right tackle? He's a restricted free agent. Yes, he would be an awesome fit at right tackle, but it's one of those things. Green Bay has to play ball on that, and that's one of those that you have to wait out because he's not worth the second round tender because." Green Bay is very, very deep on the offensive line. It's entirely possible that he's gonna be the odd man out at tackle, and they might move him to guard, and that's where you could swoop in maybe in July or August and say, "Hey, how about a future third round pick? You busted this guy down from starting tackle to guard. He'll start for us at tackle. Here, take a third round pick for a guy that's not really going to be consequential to you." And maybe Green Bay says yes. So Josh Neiman will be a nice addition.
That kind of pops in my mind, Alf, is that might be something we see on draft day. If Miami is looking at an offensive tackle to see if he falls, that they feel comfortable with, and he doesn't, maybe they trade right there. Like call Dallas up and say, "Hey, you want this pick?" And they trade for Steele, or they trade Green Bay for Neiman. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying that to me suddenly becomes a feasible possibility for Miami at their pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Safer. I mean, it's safer than having Chris Greer decide. Because I don't know if you guys know. Obviously, Lewis is on the road, so I covered for him this morning for his Fins Nation show. And the entire episode, we went through Chris Greer's I started at 2007 when he was the head of college scouting, right, director of college scouting
Right.
on up, and we went through the history of the Dolphins' offensive line picks and just how pretty dismal they've been for the most part, especially outside of the first round. They've been real bad. Besides Hunt and maybe John Jerry, it really hasn't been much to speak of. So it just makes me nervous. I mean, the Liam Eichenberg, though, that's the one that confuses me the most, because I think a lot of people would have pointed to Liam Eichenberg and said, oh, that was a good pick. I think a lot of teams would have done that. Why that didn't work out, I'm not sure on that one. That one still confuses me.
So low. I'm way lower on him than Austin Jackson right now, and maybe I'm just bitter, but because Austin Jackson didn't play last year. But if you guys go back to the games,
here's the thing about Austin Jackson. His problem is not playing football. Like, he's a decent football player. He's a good football player. He likes the contact. He seeks the contact. He's a good athlete. His problem is that his technique is as bad as you can get for any NFL or any professional offensive tackle. And that's something that you wonder, can you fix this? Is that something that you do fix? If somebody just has terrible technique. Liam Eichenberg is a different story. Liam Eichenberg is a guy that you watch him one game and you're like, okay, this guy's an NFL player. Then you watch him another game and you're thinking to yourself, like, this guy's completely clueless. And not only is he clueless, he's almost a hindrance to what you're trying to do on offense.
That's exactly what I'm talking about right there. Why I'm like not like him, because it's, to me, if you view a football game as a number of chances, how many times are you going to get the ball and how many points are you going to score with the ball? And I look at Liam Eichenberg, I say on average, not researching this is just off the top of my head, I would say on average, Liam Eichenberg killed 2 drives per game, took away 2 chances to score points and win games by either screwing up a block or throwing in a critical penalty. Like, we're suddenly 1st and 20 because Liam Eichenberg decided to hold, or he had holds that didn't even make sense to me. Like, they'd be away from the ball that didn't even need to be done. And those lose games. And a lot of people don't see that. They see, well, what's the quarterback's rating or what are your stats? Offensive linemen missing blocks and getting penalties lose games because those kill drives. And I don't really remember any of the other linemen reoccurringly screwing up drives the way Liam Eichenberg did last year. So hopefully they can figure out a way to get more consistency out of him. But yeah, I'm struggling with that guy right now from last year.
Liam Eichenberg last year, he had 10 starts. He had 4 penalties. And those
were crucials, man. I swear he had more than 4 penalties, man. I swear.
He had 4 penalties. Now, you really want to laugh?
Are you sure you're not looking at a game?
No, I'm looking at his 10 starts.
This was looking at one date.
Liam Eichenberg, do you want to guess how many sacks he allowed last year?
I would guess 10.
3.
He allowed 0 sacks last year.
Oh, man. Now you're making me feel bad, man.
But here's the thing.
That's all to his
Go back to 2021, his rookie season. He started 16 games.
All right.
And this season that he had in 2021 is as abysmal as a tackle, a guard, and anything can play. He had 7 penalties, and he gave up 8.5 sacks.
Oof. Okay.
For 56.5 yards in 16 games. He was.
How many pressures did he have last year?
Oh, I don't have that in front of me. I have to dig into that. I
was just curious how many pressures he'd allowed.
But you got to understand, man, Tua helps these guys so much.
Yeah.
I was watching tape. There's this tape going around. There's this clip going around on Twitter, which I thought was pretty funny. It said, "You really want to run it back with Brandon Shell?" And they show the touchdown pass that Tua Tagovailoa threw to Tyreek Hill against Cleveland. Brandon Shell is in his blocking stance, and it's not like he has a scrub lined up in front of him. He has Myles Garrett lined up in front of him. Kind of important, right? You want to tackle that. You want to block that guy, right?
Hopefully keep Tua alive, yeah.
Yeah. The ball is snapped, and Brandon Shell starts, backpedaling, getting into his kick slide, blocks nobody as Myles Garrett runs right past him. Like, Brandon Shell doesn't see him. Brandon Shell does not see a 6'4", 270-pound guy running right past him. Of course, what does Tua do? He throws it really quickly across the middle to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill catches it, touchdown.
Was that the one where I thought that was the one where he did that quick spin move Tua did to throw the ball. Remember?
No, Tua did.
Was that a different play?
It was a different play. Like this one, Tua just gets the ball and says, "Holy shit, this guy's right here. Let me get rid of it." And he just throws it.
Tua played out of his mind in that Cleveland game. He had a few passes.
He made them look so dumb.
Yeah, God, but I mean, he threw a touchdown pass to Sherfield that was perfect. I mean, he put it in the back of the end zone, the
back corner end zone.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just pop right there in the bread basket, right in that back corner. He had another one that was an out on the other side, and the timing of it was just so perfect that it was just not defendable. And Tua was just,
in my opinion, he had one of the best throws he's had all year in that Cleveland game, which was when he throws the deep post to Waddle. And Waddle has an outside release, and Tua is thinking to himself, "I don't give a shit."
Yes, that's the play.
I know that my guy is gonna beat this guy across his face.
Yeah,
to the post.
The ball is out before he even breaks. I remember that
Yes.
because the commentators were going off like, "There's nothing you can do to stop this. There's absolutely nothing you can do." But the timing was unreal. But anyway,
all right, guys. I think time to wrap it up, and let's get a little mention of our sponsors. So don't forget about You Break, We'll Fix, 305-748-0112, or you can go to youbreakwillfix.com or check them out on the socials at You Break Will Fix. And then, of course, Prize Picks, FIVE 5, promo code 5, get that $100. They'll match it.
And don't forget to get on OnlyFans.
That's
$3
right.
a month.
Oh, I still have to do that.
Dude, you still haven't done it? Oh yeah, I haven't seen you in there, so you haven't done it. You got to get in.
Ron used to be a big honcho over there until he
resigned. I resigned as a moderator and let Professor Weck have it.
All right.
That's okay. It's been fun now because now I can just talk shit like everybody else and I don't have to worry about it. So
well, hopefully he's not a big Liam Eichenberg fan. He'll probably ban me. So.
Oh no, he is not a Liam Weck is a sensible guy. And if you're a sensible guy, unless you're Liam Eichenberg's like family, you're probably not a big fan of him. Or unless you're what is he from, Notre Dame?
Yeah, yes. And actually, I think he's a really good guy. I'm not talking about him.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's a great guy. Sometimes I think about that too. We talk such crap about these players. Like, number one, we wouldn't do it to their face because they could slam us. And secondly, I'm sure they're all
like,
really nice
between
people.
Me.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I always keep it like whenever I criticize somebody from this standpoint, it's specifically on the football field. Never, unless it's like Miko Grimes or Jonathan Martin or somebody like that, then I am talking about on a personal level, but on a football level, that's the only thing.
Yeah, and by the way, on the way out here, if you guys really want to get excited about Jonathan Mingo, go check out on YouTube. There's like several highlight tapes of his. If you want, look up his Alabama game and watch how he played against Alabama. He's fun to watch. And if you want to keep Tua Tagovailoa healthy, one way to keep him healthy is by having him sit out every single fourth quarter of every single game this year because they're up by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And Mingo will help them do that.
That's right.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks for joining us out. Thanks for coming on, Chad. We did all right without our buddy Lewis, huh? Without our leader. But all right, we'll see everybody next Tuesday, and make sure you check out Fins Nation, which is on almost every morning. I think Lewis said he's going to be skipping tonight. So you'll see Fins Nation. I'll be on there again Friday morning as well. I have no clue what I'll be talking about, but I'm sure it'll be fun. All right, everybody. See you next time.
We'll see you.